I woke up in a hospital bed with tubes in my arms and a message from my wife saying she emptied our entire life savings. No apology. Just, I deserve this after everything I've done for you. That was the day I realized my heart attack wasn't the worst thing that had happened to me. It was what came after. While I was unconscious, she drained me financially and emotionally. But what she didn't know was, I wasn't going down without a fight. This isn't just a story of betrayal, it's the beginning of a reckoning. My name is Michael Harris. I'm 45 years old, and I've spent the last 22 of those years behind the wheel of an 18-wheeler, rolling through America's backroads and highways with nothing but country radio and bad gas station coffee to keep me company. It's not glamorous, but it paid the bills. And more importantly, it paid for the life my wife Stephanie believed she deserved. It started like a lot of things do. Quietly, a tightness in my chest that wouldn't go away. Just stress, I told myself. Long hours, too many greasy burgers eaten on the go. I pushed through the discomfort until one afternoon, somewhere outside Des Moines, it hit like a hammer. I had to pull over. My hands were shaking as I dialed 911. They airlifted me to Boise, Idaho, and by the time I got to the ER, I was fading fast. The last thing I remember before everything went black was the doctor's voice, sharp and urgent. "We're losing him." Then nothing. When I came to 2 days later, I was in a sterile hospital room, tubes in my arms, a pressure band around my chest, and the beep of monitors keeping rhythm like a metronome reminding me I was still alive. A nurse told me I'd flatlined. Twice. That I was, by every medical definition, lucky. But I didn't feel lucky. I reached for my phone, hand trembling, desperate for some sign from my wife. Some message, some concern, some love. There was just one notification. It wasn't a "glad you're okay" or even a sad emoji. It was a screenshot of our joint bank account, the balance showing $0. Underneath her message, "I deserve this after everything I've done for you." I stared at it for a long time, heart pounding for a whole different reason now. That account held my emergency fund, my truck maintenance stash, the cushion I'd been slowly building for retirement. 61,438.72 gone without a word. And all I could manage in return was a thumbs up emoji. That's all. That's what I had left in me. When the doctor came in later, he told me I needed total rest. No driving for at least 6 weeks. Avoid stress, he said. "Is someone picking you up tomorrow?" he asked gently. "Yeah," I lied. That night, as the machines beeped quietly beside me, I stared at the ceiling and made a decision. I wasn't going back to that house. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I made a call. Ryan, my younger brother, picked up on the second ring. We hadn't spoken in months, not because of any bad blood. We just lived different lives. Ryan was a construction foreman, twice divorced, and a man who knew a thing or two about people screwing each other over. "I need a favor," I said, voice hoarse. "Name it," he said without hesitation. "Need a place to crash for a few days," I told him. "And I need you not to tell Stephanie." There was a pause. "She doesn't know you're alive?" "Oh, she knows," I said. "She just doesn't know I'm not coming home." 3 days later, I was in Ryan's spare room. It smelled like old paint and sawdust, but it was quiet. Peaceful. For the first time in years, I didn't wake up to the sound of my own rig idling outside. "You should eat something," Ryan said, handing me a sandwich. "I'm not hungry." I was staring at my phone again. My mind kept going back to all the signs I'd ignored. Stephanie stopped asking when I'd be home, stopped picking up my nightly calls, took weekend trips with friends I never met, changed her phone password, claimed she was just moving money to get better interest rates. I was blind. I didn't want to see it. That's what trust does. It paints red flags white. Later that afternoon, our old neighbor Craig Mitchell, a guy who lived across the street for 10 years, sent me a text. "Haven't seen you around. Everything okay? Stephanie's got some guy over. Thought you should know." I didn't reply. I just sat there, numb. The next day, Ryan drove me to a downtown branch of our bank, not the local one where Stephanie and I used to show up together, smiling and holding hands. This was a bigger branch, faceless and neutral. I asked to speak to a fraud specialist. I showed her the text, explained what happened, my hospitalization, my unconscious state, the massive withdrawal. She was professional, calm, but I saw something flicker in her eyes. Pity, maybe even a little outrage. "Mr. Harris," she said, "we can open a fraud investigation, but since it was a joint account and your wife had equal access, it may be difficult." "I understand," I cut in, "but I'd like to try." She nodded and started typing. "We'll need hospital records verifying your incapacity at the time of the withdrawal." "I've got them. And if this escalates, law enforcement may need to be involved." I met her eyes. "I'm aware." That evening, I made 3 more calls. First, to my dispatcher taking medical leave. Second, to my credit union, where I kept a small business account Stephanie didn't know about. And third, to Daniel Brooks, a friend of Ryan's. A lawyer. "I need to know where I stand," I told him. "The house, the accounts, everything." Daniel agreed to meet the next day. Before I went to bed, I logged into a few investment accounts Stephanie had never bothered asking about, not because I was hiding them, but because she never cared about the boring details. She only asked one question: when does the money hit? As I was reviewing the accounts, my phone buzzed. "Stephanie, where are you? Your truck's not at the depot. Did they tell you I came by?" I didn't respond. Another ping. "Michael, this is ridiculous. You can't just disappear. We need to talk about this." I put the phone face down on the table. Ryan looked over from the kitchen. "She reaching out? You going to answer?" I stared at the phone, then slowly closed my laptop. Not yet. That night, I stepped out into the cool Idaho air. The stars were faint but visible. For the first time in weeks, my chest didn't hurt. And that's when it hit me. Not like a heart attack this time, but a revelation. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even heartbroken. I was done. That evening, I made 3 more calls. First to my dispatcher, taking medical leave. Second to my credit union, where I kept a small business account Stephanie didn't know about. And third to Daniel Brooks, a friend of Ryan's. A lawyer. "I need to know where I stand," I told him. "The house, the accounts, everything." Daniel agreed to meet the next day. Before I went to bed, I logged into a few investment accounts Stephanie had never bothered asking about, not because I was hiding them, but because she never cared about the boring details. She only asked one question: when does the money hit? As I was reviewing the accounts, my phone buzzed. "Stephanie, where are you? Your truck's not at the depot. Did they tell you I came by?" I didn't respond. Another ping. "Michael, this is ridiculous. You can't just disappear. We need to talk about this." I put the phone face down on the table. Ryan looked over from the kitchen. "She reaching out?" I nodded. "You going to answer?" I stared at the phone, then slowly closed my laptop. Not yet. That night, I stepped out into the cool Idaho air. The stars were faint but visible. For the first time in weeks, my chest didn't hurt. And that's when it hit me. Not like a heart attack this time, but a revelation. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even heartbroken. I was done. Stephanie hadn't just emptied our account. She'd unknowingly handed me my freedom. If you woke up in a hospital bed to find your life savings gone and your spouse silent, what would be your first move? Do you believe that betrayal gives you power or just pain? Let me know when you're ready for part 2, where things get even darker and a neighbor's concern turns out to be part of a chilling plan. The next morning, I met Daniel Brooks, the attorney, at Ryan's kitchen table. He was in his mid-50s, steady voice, sleeves rolled up, and a legal pad already half covered in scribbles by the time I sat down. "Let's start with the house," I said. Daniel nodded. "You refinanced it 3 months ago, right?" "Yeah, Stephanie said she was busy, so I did it solo. It's in my name only." He arched an eyebrow. "Smart move. Unintentionally." He flipped through a stack of documents. "And this here," he said, tapping a page, is your medical power of attorney form. You named your niece Emily, not Stephanie. That decision might just save your life a second time. I nodded. I'd watched my buddy lose all decision-making power when his girlfriend couldn't sign anything for him. It scared me. Well, Daniel said, you may have set yourself up better than most, but we're not out of the woods. He leaned forward. The money Stephanie withdrew. It was from a joint account. Technically, she had access. But if we can prove you were medically incapacitated when she took it, and that the money was primarily your earnings, we may be able to claim financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. There was a long silence. And if I want a divorce? I asked. South Dakota's an equitable distribution state, Daniel said. Not 50-50, but fair. And given her actions, we might be able to convince a judge that fair means you keep the lion's share. He paused, then added, but whatever you do, don't respond to her texts. No calls. Everything goes through me now. 2 days later, my phone buzzed again. It was Stephanie. We need to talk. Just the two of us. No lawyers. I ignored it. That same afternoon, I got a text from a blocked number. This is Patricia Wells, legal representative for Stephanie Harris. All communication must now go through proper channels. Any further surveillance or visits will be documented as harassment. My jaw tightened. Surveillance? All I'd done was drive past our old house once. My house, mind you. I hadn't even stepped out. But now they were watching me. And Stephanie had hired one of the most ruthless divorce attorneys in the state. I forwarded the message to Daniel. He called back within the hour. They're on the offensive, he said. Wells filed a motion claiming your absence after hospitalization constitutes desertion. They're painting you as unstable, unpredictable. She's trying to flip the script. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. They drained me, Daniel. She cleared the accounts while I was unconscious. I know, he said. That's why I've filed for an emergency hearing, to freeze the assets. Judge Harmon's presiding. He takes this kind of thing very seriously. That night, I called Emily, my niece. She was interning at the credit union downtown. Uncle Mike, she said, I've been digging. She sent over a PDF, an account I'd never seen before. Stephanie's name was on it. The balance, $127.56, opened 18 months ago. Every deposit was just under $10,000, the threshold for mandatory bank reporting. This is how people hide money, Emily explained. It's subtle, just under the radar, but there's a pattern. And get this, the deposits only happen when you're on long hauls. I stared at the numbers. She's been planning this, I muttered. I'm not sure she was planning to leave you, Emily said. I think she was preparing in case you left her. That stung. I was working 70-hour weeks for her, I said. Then she sent over another file. A credit card statement. Hotel charges from Portland, dated 3 months ago. I hadn't been in Portland. I was in Texas that week. The name on the reservation? Craig Mitchell. Our neighbor. The guy who'd warned me about the man at my house. It all clicked. Stephanie hadn't just betrayed me. Craig had helped orchestrate the lie. He played both sides, pretending to be concerned while sharing a bed with my wife and building a paper trail of suspicion. I called Daniel. What's our next move? There was a pause. Then, for the first time in days, I heard him smile. Now we make them sweat. I spent the next few weeks recovering, but my mind never rested. We documented everything. Emily tracked financial records. Ryan helped me photograph the new shed Craig had built while I was away. On my dime, increasing the property value of the house Stephanie now wanted half of. They were laundering their betrayal through lumber and landscaping. Then something unexpected happened. Patricia Wells called Daniel with an offer. Stephanie would return 50% of the withdrawn funds in exchange for 50% equity in the house. They're testing us, Daniel said, trying to settle quick. What do we say? Nothing. Yet. I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. Then came the twist I didn't see coming. Emily called me in a panic. Uncle Mike, Craig just emptied his accounts over $90,000 in cashier's checks. He's selling his house. I stood up from the porch. They're running. The next morning, Daniel filed for an emergency injunction. It would freeze all assets and prohibit any property sales without court approval. An hour later, Stephanie texted me again. We need to talk. Just you and me. No lawyers, please. I stared at the screen. Desperation. I showed it to Ryan. He nodded. They know the game's up. If you uncovered a secret account, an affair with your neighbor, and a coordinated plan to ruin you, all while you were unconscious in a hospital, how far would you go to get justice? Let me know when you're ready for part 3, where courtrooms turn cold, secrets unravel, and karma finally comes home to roost. I arrived at the courthouse 15 minutes early, my tie slightly crooked, the same one I used to wear for funerals on the road. There was a chill in the air, the kind that made your breath feel heavier. As I stepped out of the car, I spotted them. Stephanie and Craig, standing in the parking lot, arguing. Not yelling, but heated, intense, close. Her arms were crossed, his hands flailing in frustration. They didn't see me. I raised my phone, hit record, and captured 30 seconds of them together. Just enough. No sound. But the body language said everything. Inside, Daniel was waiting. I showed him the video. He gave a small, satisfied nod. Perfect timing, he said. Judge Harmon's already on edge today. Let's use that. We didn't meet in a big courtroom this time. Just chambers. Quiet, controlled, intimate. No jury, no audience. Just me, Daniel, Stephanie, her lawyer Patricia Wells, and the judge. Craig wasn't allowed in. He wasn't party to the divorce. Judge Harmon looked tired but focused. He adjusted his glasses, then motioned for the video to play on his computer. Silence in the room. Stephanie fidgeted. Patricia Wells clenched her jaw. When the footage ended, Harmon leaned back in his chair. Miss Wells, he said, your client has repeatedly stated under oath that she has no personal relationship with this neighbor. Would you care to explain what I just watched? Wells hesitated. Your Honor, the nature of their relationship isn't relevant to the financial. It is, the judge interrupted, when there's financial fraud involved. When substantial sums are being transferred and we have reason to believe the intent was to flee the state. He turned to Stephanie. Mrs. Harris, are you planning to leave with Mr. Mitchell? Her face turned pale. I don't. Let me rephrase, the judge continued. We have evidence. You withdrew funds while your husband was incapacitated in the hospital, that Mr. Mitchell is liquidating assets, and that the two of you are involved. It suggests a pattern of deception and intent to flee jurisdiction. The room was silent. Stephanie didn't speak, couldn't. The judge looked at the lawyers. Effective immediately, I'm issuing a full freeze on all accounts and assets belonging to both Stephanie Harris and Craig Mitchell. Neither party may leave the county without court approval. He turned back to me. Given Mr. Harris's medical condition and the apparent financial exploitation during his incapacity, I am granting him exclusive temporary use of the marital home. Patricia tried to protest. You're lucky I'm not referring this case to the district attorney, the judge snapped. This court takes the exploitation of a vulnerable spouse very seriously. Daniel stayed professional, but I could see it in his eyes. We'd won the first major battle. As we walked out of chambers, Stephanie reached out. Michael, please, there's so much you don't understand. I walked past her without a word. In the weeks that followed, everything unraveled, for them. Craig disappeared, vanished. His house, once full of life, stood empty with a dying for sale sign still wilting on the lawn. Stephanie had no one to hide behind now. 3 months after the emergency injunction, the divorce was finalized faster than anyone expected. Turns out, when you have no defense and no allies left, your legal team cuts its losses. The judge awarded me the house, fully mine, my truck, 80% of our remaining savings. Stephanie got her car, 20% of the savings. And the worst of it, my legal fees, which were deducted from her cut. The hidden account with $127,000? It was split 50-50, but only after Stephanie reimbursed my fees and agreed not to pursue alimony. The court's final ruling didn't mention criminal charges, but the implication hung heavy in the air. Any wrong move from her, and this whole thing could have gone criminal. She moved to Phoenix, last I heard. Starting over, I guess. I stayed in that house a few more months. Then, one afternoon, I walked into the garage and saw a box, our wedding album, buried under old memories I'd been too afraid to face. I opened it, flipped through 2 or 3 pages, and then closed it again. Didn't throw it out. Didn't keep it on the shelf, either. Just put it back. Because that chapter was over. 6 months later, I sold the house. Too many ghosts in the hallway. I bought a smaller place closer to Ryan and Emily. Helped Emily cover her final year of law school. She's going to be a hell of a lawyer someday. The kind who sees what others miss. As for me, I don't do long hauls anymore. My heart can't take it. Literally. My doctor banned me from the road, so I took a job in dispatch. Still in trucking, but now I'm home every night. It's quieter, steadier, a bit too quiet sometimes, but peace has a funny way of growing on you. Sometimes people ask if I'm bitter, angry. I'm not. Not anymore. Stephanie thought she was taking everything from me that day in the hospital. What she really did was force me to finally choose myself. And in the end, that's what saved me. What did you feel watching this story unfold? If you were in Michael's shoes, what would you have done differently? If this story moved you, comment 100 below. Let us know where you're watching from. What country are you in right now? And hey, if you believe stories like this need to be heard, share this video so someone else knows they're not alone.